Thank you for joining episode 4. My guest today took his first one way flight ticket to Asia on the 4th of January 2019 and hasn't stopped traveling since. Originally from Italy, Luca Stefano Sartori is a web developer and the owner of All My Bugs, a company that is registered and is paying taxes, it's very important, in Italy. He's visited more than 15 countries and regularly go back to Italy. Today, he joined us, poor him, from the Canary Islands. Luca loves the freedom to move to another place when the weather doesn't collaborate, as he says. So basically, warmer places during winter and windier or colder places during summer. As a business owner, he struggles though with some customers having to explain that he's not on vacation. And yet they still, quite often, wish him a good vacation at the end of their online calls. Damn. But we gotta talk about that because I
Happens all
understand
the
why
time.
I understand why it's an issue. Hey Luca. So before we were discussing and I started that press recording, you were telling me that you were reaching the end of your journey in the Canary Islands. How do you know it's the end of the journey?
Because we are about to reach the 6 months limit,
Okay.
which is not about ourselves as me and my girlfriend as people, because as Europeans, I mean, I'm not sure if you can stay, I mean, yourself more than 6 months, but usually at least um, inside the European Union, it's usually not an issue because they
Yeah.
cannot usually say when you got in. But
Yeah.
here we are in islands, so you had to take a ferry to get here.
Hmm.
And that means that at least not for you, but they're not forcing me to get a residency here, but instead they can force me to change the plate on my vehicle because I'm traveling with a camper, so with a
Okay.
motorhome, and that means if I stay more than 6 months, they see it as an interest in staying here uh, permanently,
Okay.
and that means that I would have to pay to change the plate with a Spanish plate. I'm not planning on, at least for now, on staying here forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
and that means
You're planning to travel more.
and that means that they yeah, I have to leave. So that's
See,
why.
this is those the little details about digital nomadism. They are so important because I believe like if you don't do your research properly before, you can have surprises in some of the countries. Did you know about that before you were moving to the Canary Islands?
No, the police told me, but they told me the first time I got here, which was in 2021. And yeah, they told me, I mean, there's no issue at all. You can just go out and get in the same day and come back in the same day, and they will consider it the first new date.
So you decided to move on and change scenery. Fair enough. But have you had like other surprises like in you've been traveling for what, like 4 years now? Have you had
Yeah,
other surprises like that in other countries?
we spent a year traveling across Southeast Asia,
Hmm.
and there were a few times where we had a few issues, like in Sri Lanka. We went there, I guess it was around July or August of 2019. So there was a strike with a train strike,
Hmm.
and the entire country was stuck. So there was no train going around, and you could only use buses, local buses. But the problem is that the buses were full, and not fully operational. Sorry, that meant that we it happened a few times that we got stranded in the
Mm.
middle of nowhere because we were waiting for a bus that never came, and so
Yeah.
and you had to work the day after. So obviously it was not that easy, because usually when you say that you are traveling and working remotely, people tend to think that you might have issues with the network, with internet,
Uh-huh.
uh, connecting to doing calls and
Yeah.
delivering your work. But uh, in that case, and in many other cases, it was electricity our biggest issue, because if I have a SIM card, a data SIM card, even one from Sri Lanka, I bought there for like $10, and
Mm.
it allowed me to work without any issue. Um, my problem was that my laptop had a battery that was going to run out
Yeah. And
unless
you were in
I
the middle of
plugged in.
nowhere with no
Okay.
electricity access. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, obviously that was the biggest of the pains when you, well, whatever. I don't
No, I
want
mean,
to.
I understand but this is really important, and we're going to talk about that because you are a business owner. You
Yeah,
travel, but you also run a company, so you have to figure out all these little issues. I used to live in Southeast Asia. I lived in Southeast Asia for 20 years. Mobile phone works everywhere. It's
yeah,
not the issue. Access to the internet is necessarily not an issue. Electricity is a bigger issue because not
and it
only you
works
don't have.
even better compared to some.
Yeah.
So compared to some areas of Italy, I can say it works
Yeah,
even better.
compared to France too. But electricity, access to electricity can be an issue, as well as electricity shortages. I remember living in Phnom Penh, especially in Cambodia. We had so many electricity
Yeah,
issues.
in Sihanoukville, in the southwest,
Yeah,
if I remember correctly, of Cambodia, we had shortages. I mean, with blackouts of like 12, 13 hours, and it happened quite frequently because they were building a lot of structures around the area, and Chinese people came to invest in the country,
yeah,
and they built a lot of
yeah.
casinos and buildings. The problem is that the supply was not enough,
Mhm.
obviously, to handle all these, how to
Yeah,
say,
infrastructure.
carpentry and
Yeah,
infrastructure. Yeah. So it failed almost every day. So
yeah. So
uh,
in those such cases, knowing that you are an entrepreneur, you have clients, you need to deliver the work, you need to, your company it's your source of income, right? How do you
yeah,
how do you manage that?
I think one of the best thing you learn while traveling is that everyone can help. I mean, in those cases, we went from one store to the other, talking to the people, and we found out that there was a restaurant that was owned by an American man that
Hmm.
went to live in Cambodia, that had a generator, a diesel or gasoline generator, and we had a sort of a deal. So I come here every day, I eat here, and you provide me at least one full charge of my laptop so I
Right.
can work. That was like,
Wow. Do you have some sort of a checklist before you
yeah,
go into like any country or any local destinations?
yeah. When we, so now, obviously, nowadays we have everything we need, talking about electricity, because we rebuilt our electrical system. So
Also,
obviously
you have a
everything.
portable electrical system.
Yeah, I have everything on solar now, because obviously
Wow.
in this case now I'm living on after COVID we had to reinvent ourselves.
Mm.
So we moved to live on a camper. So it was a van, a 1979 Volkswagen van,
Nice.
and then we now got a motorhome,
Okay.
which is a bit more recent, from 1993. I have 1,140 watts on my roof, so of solar energy. So I'm completely independent.
So
But
you're saying that your camper van works on electricity too?
absolutely, I mean,
Okay.
I I use diesel only to drive it,
Right.
but for everything else, cooking, the fridge, and anything you can think, we use electricity. We have a double battery system. Obviously, I'm soft. I engineered it to be as bulletproof as possible. So it's I have a backup for everything. I tested it before with the first camper. We had issues with the gas, with I mean, to cook.
Hmm.
We used gas to cook. We had a gas stove, and the problem with the gas is that even in Europe, the the fitting between one country and the other changes.
Of
So
course.
the you cannot just plug in and
Yeah.
refill your tank.
It's like Apple and Android.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You got
Of
it, because
course.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
same as using Thunderbolt and the
But it's
so
it's it's yeah, the little things about like traveling, it's like, these fitting issues also applies to electricity plugs.
exactly, when you have the plug, you always have to take into consideration that you need an adapter,
Yeah.
and in in my case, I used to travel with the I replaced my plug with the UK one of the laptop charger, because I found it more easily available while traveling, at least across Asia, because I could just plug
True.
it in and it worked. Usually, US and UK plugs are more commonly used, in at least provided in other countries, while the Italian plug that is super weak. I mean, also the German one, the Schuko. The Schuko is, if you
I
travel
used
across Europe, that's the one to go. The
But this is so interesting because a lot of people, and this show is about like optimizing your life as a digital nomad, and these are the sort of details that you need to think about
Yeah,
before you start your journey, because they are so important. Uh,
absolutely.
Imagine
Yeah,
you find yourself in the middle of nowhere in Asia like you did, but it is at night. There is nobody around you. What do you do?
yeah, you're
And
completely on your own. I mean, in
yeah.
that case, it's crucial that you also consider having more than one way to do the things. Um, so after 6 months traveling across Asia, we had to come back to Italy just for uh, like 20 days, but we had an event in
Mhm.
uh, in Rimini. In that case, I used Amazon, because something I mean, something you give for granted, that
Yeah.
Amazon is not available in Asia unless you go in places like India.
It
But
depends. It depends on the countries. I think in
exactly,
Cambodia, I could get delivered with Amazon, but they would open my packages to
yeah,
look
they
what
will
what to
check
look
it,
what's inside.
obviously.
But it's true in some of the countries it's not available. Yeah.
Yeah, like it happened to me. I had one of my laptop batteries that was blowing. I mean, it getting filled by gases and
Yeah.
expanding, so I had to replace it. And it was, while traveling, you need to have many credit cards, because you have to cover the most. Because in many places, my Italian debit card was not accepted. So
Yes.
even with the American Express and Mastercard, Visa, no card was accepted on their websites, because you needed to have a Vietnamese bank.
Yeah.
to access to buy online. So even if I found the battery to replace it, it was not sellable to me because
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
buy it. I could
Yeah,
not
because
pay
of the
it.
oh, I can't say that word. Anyway, because of the local
Technicalities, yeah,
issues, yeah. Technicalities, there you go. But
exactly. So
it's getting
I
it's
had
getting
to,
it's getting better it's getting better in Asia, but it's still you have to, in a lot of countries you have to have cash. Like if you're coming from
yeah,
Europe, you never traveled before, you're not in some places like in Finland, which has become a cashless economy. It's really strange. It doesn't you don't think about it like taking
yeah, but
cash
it's
with
the
you.
same for me. You can, so you see, I never have a single, so I never bring cash with me.
Yeah.
I think I only use coins to wash my camper. I mean, just to,
Hmm.
or even to wash the clothes, because you need that when you're using laundries. I mean, you need the coins most of
Yeah.
the times.
Yeah.
But in any other case, I so I ended up, after a few months, I ended up making signing up for WeChat. That was this sort of uh, local WhatsApp that you could use to pay things as well
Right.
in a few places.
So how
Uh,
many bank accounts do you have?
I have, I mean, as bank accounts, I only have the one from the company and two
Okay.
for myself. For myself, sorry. But I also use a few top-up cards like Revolut, and I am planning on considering Conto, which is a French company which does the same but allows you to have something like a business account, so you can use it as, I mean, I could use it as on my bags, but
Okay.
it is a top-up card in the end, so sort of a top-up card. And I have to tell you, Revolut saved my life in Mexico, because I got
Really?
stuck there when I had to buy the flight to come back when COVID was messing around. And we as Italians, yeah, in Mexico, I needed to buy a flight to come back. It's something I hope no one will ever have
Mm.
to leave again. But we were Italians, so our passports were saying that we were Italians, even if we obviously didn't even touch Italy for months, even before COVID started. But in those months, obviously, Italy was in a terrible situation.
Yeah.
And the media, I mean, the media were telling the people that people were dying.
Yeah.
They were continually dying in Italy. So people were scared,
Hmm.
and we were staying in a co-living in Cancun, and they didn't want us to renew. I mean, they didn't want to renew our staying because they were afraid that we could have COVID. I mean, obviously we
Even though
didn't
you had
have it.
been in Mexico for quite a while. Yes.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
in Mexico for 1 month, and before that we were in Miami, and before that in New York. So it was, and before that in Turkey.
Right.
So
So you had not been in Italy for.
exactly, it had been like
Yes.
4 to 5 months,
Yeah.
and we were obviously traveling. But anyway, they told us probably they wouldn't have been able to renew our stay,
Yeah.
and we needed to fly back, because
Yeah.
even the company we used to for our own insurance, that's something I know you are. I mean, one of the services your company is providing. But in that case, the company we used uh, sent us an email and told us that in case of COVID, they wouldn't have covered the expenses. And
Of course.
and in the United States, only just to um, access an hospital. Since you were not a U.S.
Hmm.
citizen, you would have to pay something like $3,000 to be COVID tested, to be
Yeah.
tested against COVID and access the hospital. So even if I had cut myself and I needed a medication for my
Yeah.
finger, I would have to pay $3,000, sorry, just to access the medication. And yeah, they were weird and wild times.
And so
But
you paid a flight back with Revolut.
exactly, but I had to do it with Revolut because my bank blocked my card
Really?
because they thought that someone had cloned my card because they saw that I was spending too much from Mexico, and they thought, well, we are all closing our homes. Everyone is at home doing the COVID, and we were not. Obviously, we were
Yeah.
stranded
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in Mexico. So Revolut saved my life because unless I could use Revolut, and I had to sell my cryptos because it can handle cryptos as well. So I had to sell my cryptos to have more money, more usable cash I could use to um, to pay my.
Yeah, but it's this ties into what we were talking about. We've been talking about since the beginning of the conversation. Those details, don't only have. Make sure you have several sources of income, several bank accounts, and remember. I think also here what the lesson here is: remember that you're not at home. You're
Exactly,
traveling. You are a foreigner in a foreign country. It's not your
absolutely.
country.
And yeah, it was a weird time. I
No,
mean,
I believe you.
I'm
So
glad it's ended in some way. So it was not easy.
yeah, no, but it's a great lesson for people who listen to us. I would like to talk a little bit about quickly about the practicality of running a business because that's a good topic for that conversation today. Practicalities.
Yep,
When you travel like this, even though you're traveling, your business needs to be registered somewhere. So
yep.
you register your business in Italy. Why?
Yeah, we had to because the problem is that I never considered paying taxes the real problem. But in the case of Italy, bureaucracy is the problem usually, and I think it happens in many other countries in Europe because we are still moving to the point where we will be able to do everything remotely. But in general, in Italy, we are still undergoing the digitalization process. So many things need to be done in a local way. You have to stay there. I mean, you have to be physically there. And even when just my bank, I mean,
Yeah,
if I want to do anything, any change to my account, I cannot prove um, anything to do it remotely. They need to see me. They need
which
to.
is the case. Which is the case in a lot of countries, and that's again another details. If you live in a country for long enough, where you can open a bank account, when you leave, if you want to keep your bank account, which is fine. If you want to make any changes or if you want to access this, like you said, in most of the cases, you will have to be physically present so they see you and they
Exactly.
will even ask you to sign. And if your signature is not the same, they will, bother you. I know it happens to me. It happened to
Yeah,
me.
and yeah, it's a pity, but it's exactly like that. And in my case, I tried my best to find another country where I could, where the bureaucracy side of the business was easier to manage. And I found places like Estonia where you
Yeah.
can get your residency and everything everything done completely online. The problem is that even if Estonia doesn't care about you living there. Obviously, you have to think that digital nomads are still something that most of the people don't really understand, because even when you tell them that you travel, I mean, always,
Yeah,
they always ask you, but when are you coming back home? And I'm telling them, well, my home is the the thing you see. I mean, this is my home. I'm moving with my home. And even when you are backpacking, you are sort of moving with everything you need, and there's no coming back home. I mean, you get back to visit and to say hi to your parents and whatever, but usually after one place there's another that you need
mm,
to visit and to experience. So it's part of the journey that you have decided to do in your life. So you keep traveling because that's the way you like, that's the way you want to
yeah,
live. And people still don't understand it, but this was to say that obviously you are not working in a usual way and living in a usual way. And that means that even the countries and the bureaucracy and the politics and whatever don't still don't accept this. So they don't accept that you don't have a physical home where you I mean your residency where you will always come back. And they expect you, if you want to run a business, if you want to do anything, even just mm, get sanitary assistance, you need to have a physical place that they can relate to you.
yeah,
This is not needed in Estonia. If you want to start a business there, you just sign up, sort of sign up online, and they uh, obviously they do their checks on you, but in the end you would be technically allowed to have a VAT number and start your business. But in my case, Italy wouldn't allow me to do
yeah.
so,
But
because
still, you did it in Italy.
exactly I had to because I to avoid being fiscally connected to paying taxes in Italy, I will need to move to that
Yeah,
country. So they
yeah,
don't understand, they don't accept the e-residency, but they want the physical residency. So you
yeah,
have to demonstrate that you are living there at least 6 months,
yeah,
181 days in a year. And that means that since we decided to travel, but we moved every now and then, but we stayed not longer than 1 month in every place. That means that I cannot get another residency elsewhere.
what you're talking about is important because in most of the countries, Finland, France, it's the same.
Yeah,
Once you've lived like 6 months outside the country, you can declare, a different residency. So in my case, I was not paying taxes in France because I was living in Southeast Asia, so I
exactly,
was paying taxes where I used to live. But the problem is that if you get a residency for instance, I don't know, in another country, okay, they have the kind of the same rules.
exactly.
Like I used to live in Cambodia. I left Cambodia, so now I don't have the Cambodian residency anymore. So if I had a business in Cambodia, I would have to go and go back to Cambodia like every 6 months. Same. So
Yep.
it is an issue which this is why I believe like why a lot of digital nomads have a home base, because you have to come back anyway to that
Yeah.
home base just to refresh and for a new start. And at the same time, it allows you to keep your residency in your home country or wherever you decide your
Yeah,
residency is.
but you have to, because if you obviously in that case you always have to run the business. I mean, to start the business in the place where you at least used to live, or the place where you have a residency. Because unless you do that, you can technically start a business in another country, in a few other countries, without being a resident there. Like if you, let's say, if you want to start it in Estonia, you can with the e-residency. The problem is that you would get double taxed,
Yeah.
because you would have to declare your personal income to the country your residency is placed on,
Yeah.
and then you would have to pay the difference. So you would pay the business taxes for the company in one place, and your personal taxes in the other.
Yeah.
And it gets pretty messy, because obviously even finding an accountant that is able to do the taxes for one place and the other is almost impossible, because they don't care usually, because they don't, it doesn't happen that
Yeah. It
often.
doesn't happen in their life. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
you're almost sure that you will lose money in the process, because
Yeah. Digital nomads don't fit boxes so
yeah,
far. So far. And check out all the details. Prepare yourself.
yep.
Think about all the issues that we've been talking about. All right. If you had any recommendation to give to aspiring digital nomad, one practical recommendation, what would it be?
Well, don't do what I did, because I, I took a flight, and I mean, I flew to Asia, and I was in the middle of somewhere where no one could understand me, and I didn't even know how to do
Yeah.
my stuff, to do my
Yeah.
thing. And I was lucky, seriously, because it took about a couple of weeks to understand how to manage my time, and um, to deal with the issues of this kind of this life. But probably if I could come back, I
Mm.
would have tried this kind of living in my country, or at least in a country where I was. It was easier to do the stuff. I mean, you could just, if you are Italian, you can go to France or Spain or whatever, but stay in the area where it is still easy to solve a problem, and just try it, test it, because maybe it's not even the life you want. It's
Yeah.
not something, eh, it's not the life they picture. So it's not the one where you have your laptop, you are on the beach, and you are drinking margarita all the time. It's not like that. I mean, you can sort of do it. Don't drink while working, because it doesn't work.
Of course.
uh, but yeah, in that case, you can try to, I mean, to travel with your backpack, and test the issue, and you can still work if anything fails, because you are in a place where at least you can find the help easier, and most of the times you can just take an Airbnb, and in case anything fails, you have your internet connection, and you have your plugs that work, and you can test it. I mean, you can test if working completely fully remotely is your thing, and if you like this way of living, when you have to adapt to the places, when you need to understand how to deal with your routine and make it fit in the place where you are, take it step by step. If you in Turkey, I think it's one of the best countries to test the Asian way of living, whilst having the support that you can get from European country, because from place to place it changes a lot. If you stay in the capital, you have sort of an European city. you get all the comfort, even the metro line, even to move around. And if you go to 30-40 kilometers away from the capital, you get in a more rural area, or in any case you can experience an increasing level of difficulty.
Difficulties. Or
And
challenges. All
and
right. One
yeah,
last question. Sorry, I have to wrap up.
yeah.
How can people contact you if they want to, learn more about you?
Well, we have an Instagram page. It's the easiest way. We are called Nerd the Travel. Otherwise,
Excellent. I will make sure that I put the Instagram page on the
wonderful.
show notes. And well, thank you very much, Luca, for talking to me today.
It was a pleasure, Lauren. Thank you.
And thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something new about digital nomadism. Let us know if you have any questions or comments about the show. We love hearing from you and are always happy to engage in meaningful conversations. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Destiny for Nomads podcast. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.